Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. So we have been talking over the past few weeks about the dweller on the threshold test and the particular way that we need to respond to it. I have been sharing with you some deep personal experiences that I've had with this test, and it can happen multiple times in a lifetime. And it basically exists at the doorway or gate that exists between your current state of consciousness and you transitioning into something higher or something different. And certainly for us who are trying to go from 3D into 5D, it is a giant leap in expansion and in consciousness. So the dweller is seen in ancient mystery school as an aspect of a demon who is here to, as an accuser. Like, let's say, for example, if you're in court, it's like the prosecutor to point out to you and accuse you of all kinds of charges. Now, granted that that's the role that this celestial energy has to play. It doesn't mean that the dweller or the accuser is ultimately evil, but it has to play that role. It has to accuse you because it's an identity crisis between where you are and the internal sense of shame and undeservedness you have because you're aspiring to become something higher, better, and more elevated. So it's a question of trying to navigate this identity crisis, and by resolving and absolving the shame and the undeservedness that's fundamentally the underlying feeling that you have from within. And the accuser is never revealing something that deep in your subconscious mind you didn't already feel. It just comes very loud when especially, in other words, if the dweller is loudly speaking to you, it's because you're about to transit into something else. It's an indication that something great is arriving, and you need to pass through this dark initiation in order for you to accept this great gift that's going to be bestowed upon you. Now, the dweller is those accusations and those charges that are going to be brought against you. You have to understand, and this is where a lot of us fail. A lot of us fail. When the dweller comes in and try to accuse you and say to you, you know, you're too lazy, you procrastinate all the time, you're a victim, you live your life very poorly. How can you think of yourself as being an ascended being? You do nothing for the world. You're not doing enough service. Whatever it is that is accusing you. What you have to understand, although it's an aspect of the truth, it's not the totality of your entire consciousness. He's accusing you of things that may be true as part of your personality. Think of the archetypes. Okay, there is a destroyer archetype, there is a child archetype, there's a warrior archetype, there's a ruler archetype, there's a wise man's archetype. It's a menagerie of multiple roles that we could potentially play. It is a similar things when the accuser is bringing these charges. You have to understand that he's pointing out to you things that are part of past behavior of this lifetime or past lifetime that's deep in your subconscious mind. You feel are unbecoming of an ascended being. And therefore, the feeling that we have because all light workers are trying to become elevated in light, the feeling that we have is somehow I have to amputate these parts from me. I have to cut them off, I have to amputate them. Okay? You cannot amputate any of this. Two things. The accuser is selecting to point out only the things that it sees as unbecoming of becoming light. But it will never point out to you all the other parts of you that have already been illumined. For example, your kindness, your empathy, your compassion, your mercy, your charity, your generosity, all of these other things that compose the totality, that are also part of you. In other words, I may procrastinate, I may have had trauma, I may feel victimized, I may feel unsafe, but I am also kind. I am also forgiving. I am also loyal. There's all these other things, and the totality of who I am is much more than what I'm being accused of. When the accusation comes in, a lot of people make the mistake of taking the accusation as being, this is my current state. And it's a fait accompli, I am worthless. I don't have any worth. I don't have any value. You need to keep in mind and remember, this is a trial. That prosecutor, that accuser is going to bring these charges up, and it is for you to know that I have other parts of me that are not being mentioned in this exchange whatsoever. And I have worth and I have value that are not being mentioned at this moment. Now, having said this, you still need to go now and focus in where the accusation is going in. Because the accuser is not doing this by being malicious. The accuser is trying to help you heal by pointing out and verbalizing in a loud way what in your subconscious mind may have been brewing for multiple lifetimes. Okay? Like I give compulsively. That's the thing I have that I'm working on. I give compulsively, and I have difficulty receiving. Okay? And as I sit with this and I begin to focus, I begin to now say, this is absolutely true about myself. This is something that exists, and I've been struggling with this for as long as I can remember in this lifetime. Lord, give me insights. Let me understand what kind of trauma happened. And I've already shared with you the trauma. It's because of an abuse situation that I observed that my dad was hurting my mom. And because of this, I decided I'm going to be self-sufficient. I don't need to receive from anyone. I'm going to be self-sufficient. And for me to do this as a child, as a 4-year-old child, I began to give compulsively. So when I'm being brought back to this memory, what I realize is that I have a false axis, a tilted axis, a false belief that says, I'm going to be self-sufficient. And at that moment, I'm like, I've been doing this all my life. How do I correct this, God? Show me a way. What is the vertical axis? How do I correct this? And what I heard when I first did this exercise, this dialogue, is that I heard a voice come back to me. I didn't request this from you. From this point forward, give and receive from infinity to infinity. Because so far you've been giving from yourself, only from you. And you're emptying yourself out. So all of a sudden, I began to see the verticality. Whereas before it was not even visible. And I was giving compulsively without knowing. I know something was wrong. Something was out of balance, out of whack. I couldn't figure out what it was. Right? And I'm saying this because I want you to understand what you have to do. So without the accuser pointing this thing out to me, it would not have come to the forefront of my consciousness as a way for me to focus on this. So the accuser is my teacher. The accuser is a tough teacher, but he's my teacher. And so once I begin to realize that there is a higher lesson, I now have to begin to focus. Okay, now this is the new axis that I have to focus on, but how do I heal that stuff that's tilted? And what you have to do is that you have to begin to forgive yourself for having reacted at the time of the trauma. I was 4 years old. I was young, I was immature, I was impressionable, I was gullible, and that was simply a survival mechanism that I did while I was living with my father because he was so abusive to all of us. The only way I could survive is by not expecting anything from him and be self-sufficient in everything that I did. And because I did this for so long, it took over. And then now I'm doing it compulsively without having, I know I'm not able to receive, but I know this, and I'm making a lot of effort to change, in other words. And so when you see that you did this because you were young, you were vulnerable, it was not malicious, it was not intentional, you did this because you didn't know any better, and because sometimes you were immature and stupid, and we did a lot of things out of like not knowing any better, and therefore I'm gonna ask God and the ascended masters and all the celestial beings to forgive me for being so gullible, so simple-minded, so completely immature and young. Please forgive me for that. Now that asking for forgiveness will diminish that tilted axis by 50%. If it's coming from a place of true sincerity, it will diminish it. It's like a dimmer switch going down. It diminishes immediately, and you will feel so much better by keep asking for forgiveness. Forgive me for being so human, so broken, and trying to survive as a child. But now that I'm an adult and I'm grown, I'm asking the universe to help me heal and repair this so that I can learn how to receive and give the correct way. The second thing I would add, I would say that we should do at this moment is for me to begin to learn how to behind the forgiveness when you do enough of the forgiveness. You don't do it one time, you keep doing it on a daily basis until you're beginning to feel that the compulsion that you have for that behavior, the survival mechanism, begin to diminish and become less and less and less and less. And at that moment, then what will grow from there will be acceptance. I'm going to accept the fact that this broken and incomplete part of me is an aspect of my entire soul and psyche. It is broken, but it is part of me, and I cannot amputate it. And therefore, I'm going to integrate it. Instead of trying to reject it and push it down and shove it in the subconscious mind, I'm going to integrate it into my consciousness. Yes, it is broken. It is part of me. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to integrate it. I'm going to, instead of it being subconscious, I'm going to lift it up and let it be conscious. This is immense. Because when you do this, and the moment you begin to let what is buried, because the more you push things down, the more you resist, the stronger it becomes. And when you begin to bring it up and you say, okay, I'm going to accept this. This is part of my personality. I have this part of me that does this compulsively. I'm asking for forgiveness. And now I'm going to accept that that part of me exists. This is me. This is an aspect of me. The same way my loyalty is an aspect of me. The same way my empathy is an aspect of me. And when you begin to do this, it begins to, the fissures, the cracks begin to mend and begin to be repaired. And beyond the acceptance, self-love will begin to blossom from the manure that this process of cosmic transmutation will create. So the self-love will come afterwards. It will come, there'll come a point after the acceptance when you begin to realize that I love myself, the totality of me, the broken, the human, the incomplete, the imperfect, and also the part of me that functions correctly, that works. I love all of me. And when that happens, integration, Carl Gustav Jung literally called individuation or integration. Everything merge, everything begin to mesh, and healing begins to truly happen. And from the roots of Haman and into the throne room of God, you become unified as one. And that's when ascendants truly grow. Because a lot of people are trying to ascend by trying to cut off that part of them. When the dweller tests try to come in, they shove it from subconscious mind. I'm going to ignore this. This is not true. It's a demon trying to, I'm not listening. La, 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 and when they do this, they end up having what I call a fake ascension. There is a sense of connection to spirit that's very high, 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 but it's not grounded in anything. These people will have connection to spirit, channel high energy, and do all kinds of things. But when you look at their own personal life, it will be in complete chaos. Everything that's connected to the material world, that's connected to this, the functioning of this reality, everything that they have in their life will be in chaos. But they're channeling all the, I know this woman was like, I'm connected to Master Jesus. We're walking all the time on the River Jordan, and we're doing this and blah blah blah. And her life is in complete chaos, completely ungrounded. And they're talking about higher densities and dimension, and then I'm already in the 60 and the 70, and I'm doing it. This is Aristophanes wrote this small poem that I read in English lit years ago when I was in college called The Clouds. And at the time I was already in the mystery school. That little book, that little play is a comedy. I was laughing so hard because he was describing all these people that were part of a cult where they are hanging from hammock from the branches of trees, and they think they don't touch the ground because they're elevated in there. And again, but in their real life, nothing works. This is almost 3,000 years ago that this was written. It is as relevant to our world today in the light community. It's a tiny little book. It's not big. I don't remember how many pages, but I don't think it was no more than 50 pages. So yes, so it's very easy to be so top heavy that we don't want to deal with. I know so many people, even my own student, who have said to me when I asked them to do Dentien and go into the Dentien to focus and to have a query and to talk to themselves and to try to find out if there is a discomfort and to go into discomfort. I'm not doing it here because it's dark. I'm not going in there. Some of them have stopped coming to class because of this. Even in mass media, I've lost a lot of people because of the kind of work that I'm trying to do. But there is no other way for you to ascend. That if you don't do this work and if you don't go into there's no one can ascend without passing that test. No one. Even Master Jesus, after his 40 days in the desert, or fasting, he encountered this demon who offered him all the food in the world. And that was his dweller test. He fasted by saying to the dweller, "Get thee behind me." But many people will not pass it. All the path that there are, as long as real ascendance, you have to face the dweller. The dweller will show up. So if you've done all these things, you will get to a point where you will beginning to realize that I am capable of a lot more. I am capable of doing a lot more. I am capable, because the healing, there are some beautiful things that happen when you incorporate even your own brokenness as part of yourself, and you learn how to love that brokenness as well. And this is what the dweller is trying to get you to do. You have to incorporate it. You have to integrate it in. And when you do this, what actually happens is that your self-love allows you to increase your capacity for empathy. And your social intelligence becomes potent and powerful. Because you've done this, when you're walking around the world and other individuals who are suppressing their own brokenness, their own shame, and their own undeservedness, you will be able to see it in them immediately. And moreover, because now you've healed these fissures, these crevices, light will ground into the roots of a man and rise way up. And you will release more light into the world than the person who's trying to ascend in the clouds. You will release more light, and your light will be more genuine. So I'm encouraging you to do this work because you're capable we're all capable of doing a lot more than just that. And so that integration work is the key.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yes.
In the beginning of the evening of the class, you were talking about asking God to forgive, to assist in the healing of the negative belief systems that, as a 4-year-old, you may have incorrectly, but at that time felt it was wise to do to protect yourself. In that way, I see there are two paths that then you can take, or maybe they are one. One is to ask for healing and to try to pursue that path of cleansing the falsehood, the negative characteristic or belief system. And the other is to accept it and just love yourself for it. Are they both the same, or are they two different approaches?
What I can say to you, let me talk about my particular situation. I'm glad you brought this from the example that I used, because I can tell you that when I became aware that's what I've been doing my entire life, I got scared. Because the compulsion is so strong, I don't know if I'm capable of stopping it. That's the only way since I was 4 years old, that I know how to survive in this world. And this is why I went directly to God at that moment. And I was scared. I said, "God, help me. What do I do? I've been doing this my whole life. What do I do?" And a voice came back to me and says, "I don't require this from you." And I'm like, "What do I do now? How do I heal this?" And the force came back to me, said to me, "You're giving and receiving from yourself, and you're emptying yourself out." But if you give and receive from infinity to infinity, you will be constantly and perpetually renewed. It pointed out something to me, but it is my responsibility to figure out how to move from there into there. Because that's my work. That's the way I'm going to remove my shame. And how I'm going to remove the shame? The way I just described to you. Asking for forgiveness for the gullibility, the kind of like simple-mindedness that I didn't know any better. Okay, this is the only way I could figure out to survive. And do this over and over again. In other words, every day go re-examine the situation. Because I didn't do this once. I've been doing this for years and years. And every time I do it, it's a different layer. That thing is so thick, felt so heavy to me, and so big, I don't know how to repair it. Right? So by going on a daily basis, re-examining this, and every time asking for forgiveness, and every time I ask for forgiveness, a layer of what's the term I'm looking for? A layer of pardon is dissolved, is removed. I get pardoned by God for every instance, and it dissolves, And there comes a point, all of a sudden, you're going to feel a lot better. It won't be completely gone. You're going to feel a lot better. The next stage of the transmutation process, because it is alchemy and transmutation, is for me to now begin to accept the fact that I'm a work in progress. I'm not going to remain as a compulsive giver. I'm a work in progress because God already told me I have to move from there into there. So now the next step on this alchemy is that I have to take what I've been asking for forgiveness for. I have to now, instead of trying to extract it and have some magic fairy dust remove it automatically, because it's not going to happen this way. I put too much energy into it. There's too much psychic content. It's big, it's immense. So by keeping asking for forgiveness, there comes a point. Every day I'm offering it to God and I'm asking God for forgiveness as a way to kind of like let the air out. Let it ooze out. And then at some point, I'm going to have to accept the fact that I'm imperfect. I am human and I'm broken. And the moment I do this, I'm now on the second stage. I'm accepting myself. It has diminished quite a bit, but I'm now adding to it acceptance.
Okay, so and once you're in that second stage
Yes.
of acceptance and self-love, forgiveness, do you still try to work on the issue, or do you let it go at that point?
No, what happened is that the acceptance would be there first. And the acceptance will then grow and evolve into love, self-love. So it doesn't happen automatically. It's very gradual. If it happened at the same time for you, terrific. For me, it didn't happen this way. There was acceptance first, and then the acceptance went into self-love. And the self-love, because the real power for transmutation, for change, is love.
And that heals the condition
that repairs everything.
Oh, interesting. Good.
That repairs everything.
Thank you. I understand. Thank you.
You understand? Because the love is the key. And the moment that's self-love, because an interesting question that was asked in the other class, somebody was trying to compare it to the archetypes and all that, and the inner child work and all that. And she kept on saying to me, so would you compare this to inner child work and the meditation, the special meditation, all that? I said, I'm not comparing to anything. The only thing I can tell you is that all the archetypes, it depends on, because it's a customized test, because your descent, my descent, are different from each other. Okay? And it's a customized test to the few things in your spiritual psychology that makes you feel undeserving of ascendance. right? And for you, it may be related to the inner child. But for someone else, it might be related to somebody else, something else. For me, it's giving and receiving. For somebody else, it might be something else. It might be I'm a victim. For someone else, it might be I am not bright and intelligent, or I'm not charitable enough. I'm too selfish. I'm too self-serving. Whichever the case may be, once the self, in other words, it's not a comparison of like, don't wreck your brain trying to find in all of this a complete comparison to the archetype. You will not compare. This is, to me, deeper than the archetype because it goes toward the primordial issue, which is the original brand of shame, before there were even archetypes. So it's even deeper. As we know, in the beginning, there existed only an infinite desire to give that was not self-aware because nothing was outside of it. For you to have self-awareness, there has to be a mirror, something to reflect you. And to emancipate itself, this consciousness created an infinite desire to receive. And for a while there, the receiver and the giver were in a perfect alchemical marriage. So that the giver, the receiver would desire something, and instantaneously, before the desire was expressed, it was manifest. It was reflected in the mirror. It was manifested. And all the giver wanted to close the infinity loop. All it wanted was for the receiver to be grateful. And the gratitude, that's all it was seeking. But gratitude is a strange emotion in that if you are not careful, it will evaporate. And I'm going to explain to you why. When you keep receiving and receiving and receiving all the time, and you have to remain in gratitude, 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 gratitude all the time, there comes a point where, let's say, you're receiving so habitually, where at one moment or another, you forgot to be grateful. You accidentally did not think about, thank you for the gift that I'm receiving. Because everything that we have received from every source, whether it's our life, whether it is abundance that we're sharing, whether it is the family that we have, whether it is the location, the house that you live in, whether it is your joy, your happiness, your health, everything that you have comes from the giver. Everything comes from the giver. For us to remove the original bread of shame, we should be perpetually be in a state of reflecting gratitude back to the giver. Perpetually. And that's a hard thing to maintain. Over a period of time, the receiver began to forget and kept on taking the gifts without remembering to say thank you for the gift received. I'm grateful. Thank you for the and what happened over time is that forgetfulness translates now into give to me because I'm entitled. This is your role and your responsibility. You're supposed to give to me. This is what happened with kids that we see in the mall at Christmas time. Who are screaming because to their parents because they want this toy and that toy. They're throwing a tantrum because they want entitlement. And the entitlement, the opposite coin of the entitlement, is to know deep in your core, although you're asking for it and you're throwing a tantrum because you want it, is to know deep in your core, I didn't do anything to get this gift. I'm undeserving of it and I'm actually shameful. Thus, a gigantic spiritual crisis got created. The shame got bigger and bigger. The more gift the receiver was getting, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got to a point that it became so big that the receivers did something that was unprecedented because it was as infinite as the giver itself. It said, no more gift. No, I don't want any more. It's too much. I have to earn this. I have to apply an effort. I'm not giving anything back. Not thinking the reason I'm not giving anything back is because it forgot how to be grateful. So because of this, where it was infinity before, it contracted into a dot. Contracted instantaneously, collapsed into a dot. And so the giver, the receiver at that moment got scared because it's a gigantic shift in consciousness in a flash. Talking about Bordeaux, a huge change happened in an instant. And the receiver kept saying, oh, I made a mistake. Return, restore everything back. This is a mistake. Yes, I will accept from you. Yes, I will accept from you. But the giver knew I can give the receiver I can fulfill every wish the receiver has, but I cannot remove the receiver's shame. I have to devise a different way for the shame to be removed. And it connected back to the giver, connected back to the receiver, to the dot, and shattered it. But it's not a dot really, it's infinity contracted into a dot. Endlessness contracted into a dot, and it shattered it. And a gigantic spiritual detonation occur, and our entire universe with time, space, and all the fragments, which are us, generated from that dot out, including a resisting force. Because the point of the implosion in creating a stage called this universe for us to be incarnated as different aspects of that original infinite being, the original archetypical man, is for us to learn how to give and receive from each other correctly without shame, without undeservedness. And the only way that that can be done is for a resisting force to make us do a tremendous amount of work and effort so that we can remove the shame and the undeservedness. Thus, the dweller on the threshold. That's what the dweller is doing. The dweller is an aspect of that original consciousness, resisting force that was created to help us remove our shame. So the dweller is there to help us, and this is why it's accusing us of all of these things, to make us realize, and we think, oh my God, this is so dark. And so it's not dark. It's trying to help you remove the original shame, which is the entire purpose for the creation of this universe.
Question, Pierre?
Yes.
The dweller serves the place of, in my previous career, as the vocal coach. If you come to prepare an aria or an opera, you would not be focusing on all the things that you can do well. You'd be focusing on the things that create a problem for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the point of the lesson, of the coaching of this session, is to work on those things that are hard for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the equivalent of the dweller, not coming to congratulate you on all the wonderful things you are, but to help you seize the opportunity to address and repair and heal the things that aren't. My question is, what does the dweller do to bring that to your attention? We are aware when we do the Dantian work of various qualities or belief systems or falsehoods that are underscoring some of our belief, our consciousness, but does the dweller present occurrences or something in your life to draw your attention to that problem?
Okay, thank you for that example. I like this a lot. The coaching thing, the voice coach thing. Um, what I can say to you is that the dweller, we did the Dantian for many years. The dweller is slightly different because the Dantian is us going voluntarily wanting to know. The dweller comes up by accusing you. You
And how
don't go look for
that?
it. It just shows up accusing you.
So is this take the place of yourself accusing yourself of something?
Well, hopefully, when you go in the Dantian, you're not trying to accuse yourself. You're just trying to dialogue. Okay.
Right, right.
Whereas the dweller shows up, it only shows up when you're really at the threshold of a shift. Otherwise, you will not hear from it.
I see, I see. So when it comes to challenge you, it is through a thought that he generates within you, or is
No,
it an action that happens?
oh no, no. The dweller only shows up because it's seeing that you're about to transit and elevate your
Yeah.
consciousness into something else.
Right, right. Sorry,
Right?
I'm asking my question very well. How does he transmit that challenge? I guess maybe is the best way to ask
For
that.
me, it depends on what sense is higher for you. For me, it's a sense that I am undeserving of what I'm seeking.
So it's your own feeling of
My own feeling
undeservedness.
that I'm worthless. I'm not capable. And then when I focus on this, then I begin to realize it expands into more and more. Some
Right,
people can actually hear a voice talking to them, telling them you're not good enough.
right, right.
If
I
you're
think
more
we all
clairaudient, you can hear the voice talking to you.
right. So this is the dweller whispering such thoughts,
Yes.
or amplifying such thoughts in you
Yes.
then. So okay, then I was wondering if the dweller also brought occurrences into your life that challenged you.
The dweller can show up in your dream. If you because okay, the way the test of the dweller shows up is that it will be for those of us who are more intuitive, you can pick it up faster. Other people who are better at suppressing, you can push this thing down, not to look at it. It will show up in your dream.
Hmm.
That somebody show up in your dream accusing you of not being good enough, or lying, you're the deceitful, you're this, you're that, and it shows up in your dream.
Okay.
Or it will show up physically in the real world. I shared that story with you about a week or a week and a half ago of when I got accepted at Columbia for my undergrad school. The
Mhm.
professor that my chairman of my department, who I thought was my friend, who wrote my one of my letter of recommendation, all that. He literally, when I told him I got accepted at Columbia, he said aloud. That was the dweller speaking through him. He
Right.
said aloud to me, "You at Columbia, you don't belong there. You're not qualified. It's because of affirmative action you got accepted."
No, I thank you. So it can appear as a challenge in your life in some way, whether it's a relationship or a health issue or
Yeah,
a financial issue,
yeah,
whatever it that is generated to bring you to a point of seeing whatever is underneath
yeah,
all of that for you. Okay, thank you. That was, I
yeah.
just want to clarify.
Absolutely. For me, in this instance, and this is like years ago when I was applying for graduate school, I was like in my mid-20s, and I remember this. It felt like somebody stabbed me. And because deep down in my core, I had already, even when I got the letter of acceptance, I kept saying to myself, 8 years ago, I was in the Caribbean, living in, middle class life. I'm going to Colombia. Do I deserve this? Do I qualify? Is this really me? Did they make a mistake?
Mhm,
I had those thoughts were inside of me already.
mhm, mhm.
Am I deserving of this? It took me 8 months of being in that program before I realized, yes, I belong there. Because I realized it wasn't the portfolio alone. When you're applying for the graduate program, they're looking to see if you're a well-rounded being. The portfolio is important, but equally important is the GRE, the question they're asking you, how you respond, what you're doing, what other extracurricular activity you're doing, all the other stuff that you're doing. They want to see that you're a well-rounded person.
And it is really a grace, isn't it, to have that challenge presented, as painful as it was, because it forced you to then face the misunderstanding and within you.
And I'm going to be honest with you. The greatest part of me, the part that was the most difficult for me, it's the fact that I didn't think I spoke English well enough to go to Colombia, because English is not my first language.
No.
So that was the greatest thing to me. It was like they made a mistake.
Yeah.
So an external thing can happen that exactly portrayed the work that undeservedness is mirrored back to you. Because we're talking about the time I was, what age was I? 23, 24. I was not spiritually, I was already part of the mystery school maybe for the past 4 or 5 years, but I was not sophisticated enough to understand the dweller well enough to internally process and say, oh, I'm having the dweller test. So it brought it back in real life in front of me. And it could show up as a disease, an accident, as anything.
Got you. Right. And sometimes it just keeps coming back.
Yeah, because the shame is not completely removed. Which brings me to my second point. If gratitude is the key, we should have another practice to cultivate gratitude on a daily, on a regular basis, more and more in our lives. And I had shared with you years ago that when we were doing the cultivation of the virtue, I had an experience, again, the higher emotions, it was a practice in which we're asking parts of ourselves that we have, since we've fallen, that exists in 12 higher emotion, to share with us what these higher emotions are. There were 12 in total. I'll enumerate a few of them. There was peace, there was love, there was control, there was obedience, and there was gratitude. Those are the order that they came in. And there were others underneath them, but I'll start with gratitude because something big happened for me. And so as I'm focusing on this, every emotion I sit with it for about 5-10 minutes, share with me the peace that you know. If I was at peace, what would I feel? What would I know in my body? And I sat down and I waited quietly to allow that part of me that has mastered that emotion to project into me a feeling or a sensation to remind me what that emotion was. And I did this, and every time I got to gratitude, 12 of them in a row, let's say 5 minutes each to finish the whole sequence for the meditation. When I got to gratitude for about 2 months, I kept feeling around here something really big, something immense. I couldn't figure out what it was. I know something was there, and something I couldn't determine what it was because it was so complex and so big. And one day in the morning, as I'm meditating, share with me your gratitude. If I was grateful, what would I feel? What would I know? What would I understand in my body? And I stayed very quiet that day, waiting, and waiting. And suddenly I heard a whisper of a word, reverence. And I kind of shook my head. I'm like, reverence? In what way is reverence related to gratitude? I don't get it, I said. And then I waited a moment and the voice came back with this sentence: deep and profound reverence for the gift. Receive. And I told you that my whole body shook. I couldn't continue with the emotion. It was unpacking for me. All these kind of things were cascading in my consciousness. I was shaking in a positive way. But I was like trying to examine, what does that mean for me? My God, I have to be more reverent and deeply and profoundly reverent. Oh my God, I have to accept all the gifts. And so I still unpacking, right? I want to get you to understand what reverence actually means, because reverence means that you're connected and you're bowing down and prostrating yourself in front of something higher than you. It implies that I am a progeny of something so big and so benevolent that I am reflecting it back by prostrating myself and saying, through your mercy and your grace, I have received all these gifts. It means that my faith and my connection to that higher power must be maintained 100% of the time for me to really be grateful. I have to understand that this benevolent creative force is my source, my origin. And without it, nothing in me would exist. And this for me since COVID, because, and I'm gonna, since the pandemic, and I'm gonna say this now, this is one of the biggest struggle I've been having, because whereas before March 2020, I had a great, my clarity, my sense of like connection was there. But now there are so many loud things, weather patterns, and that's the challenge. That's the shame we need all to remove, particularly for us who are doing the work of trying to guide humanity into the gate that will lead to the new earth. It is the dweller creating all this distraction to stop us from doing this. And we have to somehow overcome it and remember. And it's doing a great job, let me tell you that. And the idea is for me to keep maintaining. It's not just the reverence and the prostration, prostrating myself. It's the fact that I need to remember that without my connection to my Creator, my Father, Mother God, without me prostrating myself and realizing I am a progeny, I'm a son and daughter of this creative principle. And I need to bow down and say, thank you for everything you have done for me. And without that, there is no real gratitude being expressed. Reverence means there is a superior force to me that I am putting in such high esteem that I am bowing down to it. I had shared with you, and I'll briefly mention it here. In maybe a year or two ago, that when I was a young man, around 18 years old, I had just entered the mystery school, and my mom had a situation in which she was poisoned. We live in a Haitian community. There was some voodoo stuff that was being done, and she had all these blisters behind her leg. And I knew the only way she can receive treatment is for us to go back home, and it was not in the cards. And I had to figure out a way to help heal her, and she was in panic. And I went to the temple. I remember it was a Sunday convocation at 3 o'clock. I went to the temple and I prayed and I asked God for help. And my heart was so open and so pure at that moment. And when I got back home around 4 or 5 o'clock, I said to my mother to come to my room. God was saying to me, put your hand on your mom and heal her. I didn't know what I was doing. I said, Mom, come to my room. It's a tiny room. It's 8 foot wide, 3 foot for the twin size bed. and there was a hallway, and then at the end of the room, in the middle of the room, there was a window with a shade pulled down. I had 2 candles on the table. It was my altar, my sanctum. This is where I did all my prayer. I burned some incense, light the candle. I had some water. I charged the water, and I told my mother to drink it. And I asked her, I put my hand in her back, and I did this breath control technique I had learned into a location in her back. And then I said to her, lay on the bed, and I kneeled down onto the floor next to her. So she's elevated from me, but I'm kneeling down. And as I'm kneeling down, I'm praying. Any of that thing was not rehearsed. I didn't go there knowing what I was going to do. God said, take your mother into your room and heal her. I just took her there, and everything that happened, straight just guided me. Do this next, do this next. I just did what I was told to do. I had no preconceived notion of any of these things. So finally, when I kneeled down, Spirit said to me, prostrate yourself on the floor. I kneeled down and I put my face and my hand on the floor. I prostrated myself completely. And when I did this, I kept saying, with my face on the ground, help me heal her. Help me heal. As I was saying this, I shot out of my body. Astral projected outside of my body. I was in space, floating. And then there was this light that came toward me. And the light said to me something to the effect, how can I help you, or what do you need, or whatever. And I responded by saying, help me heal my mother. And the light then pushed me back. I could feel the energy of it push me back into my body. And when I hit and re-entered my body, all of these things I'm going to describe happened all at once. I could feel when I hit my body, this vibration that was so strong that it felt like a jackhammer was shaking every molecule in my body. My mother felt the same thing because she started screaming. There was a light in the room, an illumination. Because it was only 2 candles, if you had lost a pin on the floor, you would have found it. There was illumination everywhere in the room. And the shade in the window was cracked, slightly open. The shade snapped and fell to the ground. I knew it. Now I understand that it was not God. It was an angel that the prayer intention that I did for my mom sent to help heal and repair what needed to be repaired. This is ceremonial magic without knowing that I was doing ceremonial magic. This is theurgy. An angel came. I then subsequently talked to a brother at the temple about this, and he said to me, was the window open? I said, yes. He said, if the window was closed, that energy would have cracked the window, snapped it to enter the room, because atmospherically, where this being is so much more elevated. This is why your body was shaking. And for 45 minutes to an hour afterward, both me and my mother, we don't look like we're shaking, but everything inside of me going like this like a jackhammer. And of course, every blister that she had, gone. Everything is gone. Everything is gone automatically. I'm not telling you this for an ego purpose. What I'm saying here is that me prostrating myself and going on the ground and humbling myself in front of my God and asking God for help, that was the key. That was the key. And I'm going to go further, because in biblical passages, every time, for example, in John chapter 4, Revelation of John chapter 4, John was taken into the throne room of God. At the very end of the chapter, I'm going to read it because it's not long. at the very end of the chapter, all of the beings that are in there are prostrating themselves in front of God and are singing endlessly the glory of God and are saying how grateful they are for God's glory and for all the things that God has done to them. That's the gratitude that if we maintain it, there will be no shame. I'm going to read this for you. This is Revelation chapter 4. After these things I saw, and behold, a door open in the heaven. And the first voice which I had heard, a voice as of a trumpet speaking with me, one saying, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must come to pass hereafter. Straightway I was in spirit, and behold, there was a throne set in heaven, one sitting upon the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper stone and sardius, and there was a rainbow around about the throne, like an emerald to look upon. And round about the throne were 24 thrones. Upon the throne I saw 24 elders sitting, arrayed in white garment, and on their head crowns of gold. And out of the throne proceeded lightning and voices and thunder. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 Spirit of God. And before the throne, as it were, a glassy sea like unto crystal in the midst of the throne. And around about the throne 4 living creatures, full of eyes before and behind. And the first creature was like a lion, and the second creature was like a calf, and the third creature had the face of a man, and the fourth creature was like a flying eagle. And the 4 living creatures, having each one of them 6 wings, are full of eyes round about and within, and they have no rest day or night, saying, this is the chant, Holy, 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 the Lord God Almighty, which was, which is, and which is to come. And then the living creatures shall give glory and honor and thanks to him. Again, glory, honor, and thanks to him that sits on the throne, to him that lived forever and ever. The 24 elders fall down before him and sits on the throne, that sits on the throne, and shall worship him that lived forever and ever, and shall cast their crown before the throne, saying, Worthy art thou, Lord, O God, to receive the glory and the honor and the power, for thou didst create all things. Because of thy will we were and were created. This is the end of the chapter. So not only were the cherubim, the 4 cherubim, which is the calf, the human, the calf, the lion, the eagle, with 6 wings and with eyes all over them, were saying, Holy, 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 the Lord God Almighty, which has and which is, which was, which is, and which is to come. Then the 24 elders prostrated themselves and threw their crown, saying, Worthy thou art, O Lord, O God, to receive the glory and the honor and the power, for thou did create all things. Because of thy will they were and were created. So we should be doing a practice of gratitude on a daily basis to establish that kind of like faithful and restore that. Because what happened to you and to all of me, to all of us, is that we get disconnected to that relationship that we have with our Creator. We get disconnected. And the moment we're disconnected, there's no gratitude. The gratitude is not there. There are so many people I know in the life community that doing all this heavy work or whatever. They feel undeserving of connecting to their Creator, to their God. Fundamentally, this is what's blocking them. So the gratitude, by repeating over and over again, deep and profound reverence for the gift received over and over again, it is hopefully will take you back to the real core issue, which is that you feel completely severed and separated from a understanding, a fundamental understanding that you don't exist without your Creator. Because the moment that relationship is established again, that you know that everything is from the Creator and it is through the Creator that everything comes. The moment you merge and you lean into this and you give gratitude to the Creator for that act of creation, for that act of generosity, for that act of love, there is no problem anymore. Everything is restored back. The shame is removed.
Thank you, Pierre. That brings me to a question about the shame being removed. Will that resolve? It being the gratitude that and the self-love, I guess, that comes from that reverent gratitude that will resolve the negative underlying subconscious. Pardon me?
I would do both things.
Yes, okay.
I would do both. It's not one or the other.
I actually have a practice comes automatically to me at every meal. I don't eat before I have given thanks, which is of course common, but I give thanks for my creation. I give thanks for God's presence, for his love, guidance, and protection. And I really feel a connection at that time. It feels just uh, a blessing to be in that space. So that sounds like it's the right path then to follow for the ongoing uncovering of other issues that maybe the dweller is bringing to me.
Yes, and I have said this before to many people who are facing catastrophic illness. Whatever you're facing, the problem is not the illness. It's a disconnection to God. And if you can restore that connection, there is no illness. So that's the key.
Stress has often been pointed as the cause for many illnesses.
Yes.
But that stress, whatever the occurrence was, as you were just speaking earlier about your 4-year-old experience, that stress of that created, in a sense, an illness within you.
Yes.
Of a belief system that, had it been able to grow and expand, could have turned into a physical manifestation of an illness, right? So you would qualify that or define that stressor as the separation from God.
Yes.
I got it. Okay.
Because if you're at rest and you're allowing God to be in you and everywhere in every part of you, there is no all of that stuff would just fall away. You enter into the charismatic church, a movement of the church, the Catholic Church, they call it, you enter the rest of the Holy Spirit.
And what you would say about having preferences but not attachments. So
That's good.
you are free from whatever transpires because you know you are with God and God is
Yes.
with you.
Yes, you're liberated.
Right. So it may not match your timing or your
Yes.
manner of manifestation, but you know you're okay because you're with
Yes.
God and God is with you.
That's good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
This revelation happened actually this morning for me. That it was the disconnection and the separation between me and God. That has been my issue for the past 4 years. It's not there all the time, but it's there long enough because every time there's a huge distraction, oh my God, what's happening in the world? I'm not safe. People are not safe. And it creates a disconnection. And I'm not there anymore.
That's very clear. Anytime you're experiencing fear, you are experiencing disconnection.
Yes. And the relationship I had before that was where I was like it was there most of the time. It was there most of the time for me. Not 100%, but enough to be more than 50%. But the dweller has to create this because my shame, my undeservedness, I have to, through the chaos of this condition that we're in, because we all sign up to incarnate around this time. We sign up for this collective rescue. So I have to figure out a way, a workaround to still have that connection, even with the distractions that were not there prior to March 2020.
And wouldn't it be true that you cannot know light unless there is dark?
Absolutely.
So before you can really fully understand, much as the uncreated didn't know itself, or the giver didn't know itself, and unless there was a mirror, you have to see the opposite
Absolutely.
outside yourself or outside of light to know what light is.
Absolutely.
So that does present a whole different viewpoint on challenges and struggles in life.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, profound.
Yeah. So in my practice now, starting off from today on, I'm adding, I'm going deeper. Whereas before, for about over a week and a half, I was doing just the gratitude thing. Now all of a sudden it got even deeper. It's not just the gratitude thing, it's my relationship to my creator that has to be maintained. I cannot let anything separate me. I have to understand that this force, this energy is my father, mother, my origin. And I have to prostrate myself in front of it. And through the prostration, I have to give it gratitude. I have to give it glory. And if I'm doing this, there is no problem. Let's take a 5 minute break and then we'll do a closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart go into coherence. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Lord, help me remember my connection to Thee. Bring me into an understanding that I am your progeny and I don't exist without your unceasing kindness, generosity, love, support. Help me realize that you are in me at all times, and that I am not separated from you. Help me know, feel, and understand that thy endless and permanent presence deep and profound reverence for the gift received, the gift of life, the gift of abundance, the gift of permanent connection to source, to my origin, the gift of permanent understanding and knowing of your presence within me. Deep and profound reverence for the gift received. 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 Let me know, feel, understand, and restore my permanent connection with my God. For I am not alone. deep and profound reverence for all the gifts received. May I know what my God knows. May I feel what my God feels. May I expand into the territory that my God expand into. May the presence of my God be with me at all times. May I filter and understand all my experiences through the eyes, the feelings, the emotions of my God. For every experience, every things that happens for me and around me happens through you. Deep and profound reverence for the gifts received. Deep and profound reverence for the gift received. Deep and profound reverence for the gift received. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. What a privilege. I was thinking it is to be one of God's children who know God, at least in the way we do, because so many people do not. What a privilege it is to be able to honor and receive the love from our God.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Janice. Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for being in my life. Thank you, everyone, for listening on YouTube. Like this video, subscribe to the channel on Patreon. Thank you for being with us and for your support. Deepest love, everyone. Maintain the good work, and I'll talk to you next week. That's it.
Good night. Good night, everyone.